And to your left, you'll observe the infamous blue-green marble that primitive species call Earth, Professor Nari Vex announced, her forearms gesturing dramatically toward the main view screen. The Academy ship Stellar Horizon slowed its approach, giving the first-year xenobiology students a perfect view of the swirling clouds and vast oceans below. Please contain your excitement, she added dryly, noticing several students pressing their faces against the observation glass. This isn't a vacation cruise. We're here to study the only known Class 12 Deathworld in the charted galaxy. That's right, students. Class 12. The viewing chamber quieted immediately. A blue-skinned student raised her hand, antennae twitching nervously. Yes, Trialon? Professor, there must be some mistake. Our textbooks only classify up to Class 10. Are you saying Earth exceeds even those parameters? Professor Nari Vex's face split into what her species considered a smile, though to human eyes it would have looked like she was preparing to devour something whole. 2 full classification levels beyond what your textbooks consider unsurvivable. Yet somehow, the dominant species thrives here. Can anyone tell me what they're called? Humans, volunteered a bulky student from the back row, his scales shimmering under the ship's lights. Though I don't understand the fuss. Our scans show they haven't even developed proper faster-than-light travel. Their technology is quaint. Thank you for that assessment, Kraz-Dur, the professor responded, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Would you care to volunteer for our surface expedition since the inhabitants pose so little challenge? The scaled student sank lower in his seat. And no, Professor. Correct answer. Because despite their quaint technology, humans have somehow adapted to survive conditions that would kill any of you within hours, possibly minutes. She tapped her datapad, projecting images onto the main screen. Extreme temperature variations, toxic atmospheric components, pathogenic microorganisms everywhere, constant exposure to radiation from their star, gravity that would crush most spacefaring species' internal organs. And yet, she flicked to an image of humans doing various activities, climbing mountains, swimming in oceans, running marathons. They consider this fun. Professor Nari Vex let that sink in, enjoying the shocked expressions on her students' faces. By the end of this observational mission, you'll understand exactly why Earth earned its classification, and why the Galactic Council has a strict non-interference policy with this particular death trap of a planet. A thin, pale student with large eyes raised a trembling hand. But, Professor, if their technology is so behind ours, how are they dangerous? We could easily. That, interrupted Nari Vex with a knowing grin, is precisely the kind of thinking that got the last research vessel assigned here sent home in emergency escape pods. Trust me, students. Underestimating humans is the last mistake many advanced species ever made. The Stellar Horizon glided into a stable orbit, its gravitational dampeners working overtime to compensate for Earth's unexpectedly strong pull. Students crowded around the observation deck as the planet's blue splendor filled their view, its single moon hanging like a pale sentinel in the distance. Attention, xenobiology cadets. Professor Nari Vex's voice boomed through the ship's communication system. Report to Lecture Hall Alpha for mandatory briefing before observation begins. And no, Joramin, sneaking extra dessert from the nutrition dispensers is not a valid excuse for tardiness this time. 20 minutes later, the professor stood before a holographic display showing various regions of Earth's surface. Her expression was uncharacteristically serious. Let me be absolutely clear about our mission parameters, she stated, pacing back and forth. This is strictly observation only. No contact, no samples, no souvenirs. The Galactic Council has authorized us exactly 0 interactions with Earth or its inhabitants. The last research team that ignored these protocols, well, let's just say their remains were returned to their families in very small containers. A murmur rippled through the students. Surely that's exaggerated propaganda. A voice called out from the middle rows. The students parted to reveal Zeph Tor, his bioluminescent crests flaring confidently. My species evolved on a Class 9 world. We have triple redundant organs, reinforced exoskeletons, and adaptive immune responses. These humans, they're just soft, fragile mammals. Professor Nari Vex fixed him with all four of her eyes. Interesting theory, Zeph Tor. Care to test it personally? I wouldn't mind. Our ancestors conquered worlds far more challenging than this watery rock, he replied, crossing his arms defiantly. A quiet voice spoke up from beside him. My cousin was on a diplomatic mission to Earth. He lasted 6 days. Everyone turned to look at Lumikal, a slender, almost translucent student who rarely participated in discussions. He only touched one plant, something called poison ivy. His skin dissolved layer by layer. Dramatic much? Zeph Tor scoffed. Probably just had weak genetics. Lumikal's eyes narrowed. He was a combat veteran with 16 genetic enhancements. Enough. The professor slammed her datapad on the podium. This is precisely why we follow protocols. Earth has over 50,000 species of plants, and approximately 40% can cause adverse reactions to non-human biology. Not to mention their wildlife, weather patterns, geological instabilities. She tapped her datapad, and the wall screens activated to show a dozen sleek, metallic orbs rising from the ship's lower bay. Our class will analyze data from these remote observation drones. They're equipped with atmospheric shields, cloaking technology, and full-spectrum sensors. They will give us everything we need to study humans in their natural habitat without risking any of your precious, apparently expendable lives. The drones shot toward Earth, their silver surfaces catching the sunlight before disappearing into the atmosphere. First assignment. Each of you will monitor a different geographical region, document human behaviors, adaptations, and survival strategies. And remember, she glared pointedly at Zeph Tor, some species learn through observation. Others, unfortunately, insist on learning the hard way. Zeph Tor snorted dismissively, but his bioluminescent crest dimmed slightly as he watched the planet's swirling storms through the viewscreen. Earth didn't look particularly impressed by his superior physiology. Are you absolutely sure about this? Whispered Mika Ven, her bioluminescent spots flickering anxiously as she glanced down the empty corridor. The professor wasn't joking about those small containers. Zeph Tor rolled all three of his eyes simultaneously, a gesture that among his species conveyed maximum contempt. Please, that's just standard academy fear-mongering. They tell those stories to every class. The four students huddled in the shadow of Hangar Bay 3, where the smaller research shuttles were docked. The ship's night cycle was in full effect, with most faculty and students deep in their sleep cycles. But why bring us? Why not go alone if you're so confident? Asked Dornzak, his furry appendages twitching with every small sound. Simple. Jerry Lawn here, Zeph Tor nodded toward the fourth student, a stocky, silicon-based life form, knows how to bypass security protocols. You, pointing to Mika Ven, are top of our class in environmental analysis. And you, turning to Dornzak, speak 17 human languages. Face it, we're the perfect team for this little field trip. I still think this is crazy, Jerry Lawn grumbled, her crystalline fingers working the control panel. But just imagine the extra credit if we bring back actual samples. We'd pass the semester without taking finals. With a soft click, the hangar door slid open. 30 minutes later, the stolen borrowed, as Zeph Tor insisted research shuttle cut silently through Earth's atmosphere, using a stealth approach vector to avoid detection by both the Academy ship's sensors and primitive human tracking systems. Targeting a remote area, minimal human presence, Mika Ven announced, studying the navigation display. Dense forest ecosystem in the region humans call Pacific Northwest. We'll land in a small clearing approximately 27 kilometers from the nearest human settlement. The shuttle shuddered violently as they descended. What's happening? Dornzak yelped, clutching his seat with all 6 limbs. Just turbulence from their ridiculous atmosphere, Zeph Tor said, though his confident tone wavered slightly. So much oxygen. It's practically explosive. With a bone-jarring thud, the shuttle touched down in a moonlit clearing surrounded by towering evergreen trees. For a moment, all 4 students sat frozen, staring through the viewports at their first direct view of Earth's surface. We actually did it, whispered Jerry Lon. We're on Earth. Frey. We're on Earth. Zeph Tor was first to the airlock, practically bouncing with excitement. Suit up. Environmental protection only. None of that heavy-duty nonsense they recommend in the safety manuals. One by one, they stepped onto Earth's surface. Their first steps were awkward, stumbling motions as their bodies adjusted to the planet's gravity. By the 7 moons, gasped Mika Ven, nearly falling to her knees. The gravity is intense. Stand up straight, Zeph Tor commanded, though he too was visibly straining. Our bodies will adapt. My species always adapts. As they gathered their equipment and courage, the alien students gazed in wonder at the forest around them. Massive trees stretched skyward, their branches creating a cathedral-like canopy above. The air was thick with smells none of them had experienced before: rich soil, plant resins, fungi, and 1,000 other organic compounds. Look at the biodiversity readings, Mika Ven exclaimed, studying her scanner. This small area alone contains more species variety than entire continents on most Class 5 worlds. Dornzak bent to examine a tiny mushroom. Everything here is constantly consuming everything else. It's beautiful and terrifying. Their initial awe was interrupted by a sharp beeping from their equipment. Mika Ven frowned, tapping her environmental analyzer. That's odd. The sensors are giving contradictory readings. According to this, the atmosphere is simultaneously toxic and perfectly breathable. And what's this? Jerry Lon pointed to her own device. The geological stability indicator keeps fluctuating between stable and imminent catastrophic event. That can't be right. A high-pitched whine emanated from Dornzak's translator unit before it suddenly sparked and went dead. My equipment just fried. How am I supposed to translate human language now? Zeph Tor scoffed, though less confidently than before. Minor technical difficulties. Earth's magnetic field probably interfering with our sensitive instruments. Nothing to worry about. As if in direct response to his dismissal, all of their devices simultaneously emitted warning tones before their screens went completely dark. Nothing to worry about, huh? Mika Ven's voice had taken on a distinctly higher pitch. Our life support monitors just shut down. Our communication link with the ship is dead. And according to the last reading I got, there's a massive storm system moving directly toward us. In the distance, thunder rumbled through the mountains like the warning growl of a predator. The sky darkened with unnerving speed. One moment, patchy clouds drifted lazily overhead. The next, a wall of churning gray-black vapors advanced like an invading army, swallowing stars and moonlight alike. We should get back to the shuttle, Mika Ven urged, her bioluminescent spots pulsing with anxiety. Now, ridiculous. Zeph Tor waved dismissively, though he kept glancing nervously at the approaching weather front. It's just condensed water vapor. How dangerous could it be? His question was answered by a blinding flash, followed almost instantly by a crack of thunder so powerful it vibrated their exoskeletons. The alien students instinctively huddled together as fat raindrops began pelting them with surprising force. This water is chemically different from our simulations. It's burning my outer membrane, shrieked Jerry Lon, her silicon-based skin sizzling where raindrops struck. Acid rain. Normal Earth rain, actually, corrected Mika Ven, scanning with her backup analyzer. Our body chemistry just isn't compatible with watch out. A massive branch crashed down where Dornzak had been standing seconds earlier. The wind had intensified to a howl, whipping debris through the air with deadly force. Back to the shuttle. Zef-Tor finally agreed, shouting over the storm. This way. They stumbled through the darkened forest, visibility reduced to mere meters. The ground beneath their feet transformed from solid dirt to sucking mud that pulled at their limbs. Another lightning strike illuminated their surroundings just long enough to reveal a horrible truth. "That's not the way we came," Dornzak cried. "The clearing is in the opposite direction." "Impossible. My species has perfect directional sense." Zef-Tor insisted, rain streaming down his face. A tremendous gust of wind separated the group, sending Mika Ven and Jerry Lon tumbling down a steep, muddy embankment. Their cries faded into the storm's fury. "We have to find them," Dornzak shouted, but Zef-Tor was already charging ahead through the forest. "I hear water. There must be a clearing by the water source. The shuttle could be there." Dornzak reluctantly followed, his fur now completely sodden and weighing him down. They emerged at the bank of what had been a small stream on their initial scans but was now a raging torrent, swollen with rainwater. Zef-Tor assessed the violently churning water, his bioluminescent crests glowing with determination. "We can cross here. There are stones protruding above the surface. My species evolved superior balance." "Zef-Tor, don't!" His warning came too late. Zef-Tor had already leapt onto the first rock, then the second. He turned back, grinning triumphantly just as his foot slipped on the slick surface. With a shriek cut short by water filling his breathing orifices, he plunged into the current. Dornzak watched in horror as his classmate was swept downstream, bouncing off rocks and struggling against the powerful flow. Using his extendable limbs, Dornzak managed to snag Zef-Tor's arm as he was carried past a bend, dragging him to shore. Zef-Tor lay on the muddy bank, coughing up water, one limb bent at an unnatural angle. "I'm fine," he wheezed unconvincingly. "Superior recovery abilities." "Your leg is broken in at least 2 places, Dornzak observed. "And our medical units are malfunctioning like everything else." Zef-Tor fumbled with his emergency communicator. "Ship, this is ground team. Need extraction, only static," answered him. "Atmospheric interference," he muttered. "Temporary setback." A low, rumbling growl froze them both in place. Slowly, they turned toward the sound. Through the curtain of rain, a massive shape loomed at the forest's edge. A bear far larger than their briefing materials had indicated stood on its hind legs, water streaming off its fur. "Fascinating," whispered Dornzak, academic interest momentarily overriding fear. Versus Arctos horribilis, the apex predator of this region. "Stop cataloging and run," screamed Zef-Tor, attempting to stand on his injured leg and immediately collapsing. The bear dropped to all fours and charged. Dornzak grabbed Zef-Tor, using his extensible limbs to drag them both up the nearest tree with surprising speed. The bear reared up, massive paws swiping just centimeters below Zef-Tor's dangling foot. "Your superior physiology feeling useful right now?" panted Dornzak, clinging to the trunk. Their momentary safety was interrupted by howls echoing through the forest. Multiple howls. "What now?" groaned Zef-Tor. "Canis lupus," Dornzak whispered. "Wolf pack. Hunting. And we're bleeding." He pointed to the trail of fluorescent blue fluid leaking from Zef-Tor's injuries. "The ship will find us," Zef-Tor insisted, though his voice trembled. "They must have noticed the shuttle is missing by now." The bear continued circling below while the wolves' howls grew closer. Rain lashed at them, and thunder boomed overhead. Zef-Tor's confident swagger had completely evaporated. This was a miscalculation, he admitted quietly. "No," Dornzak corrected, his fur standing on end as he spotted gleaming eyes watching them from the underbrush. This is why they call it a death world. Dawn broke over the forest, revealing the storm's devastation. Somehow during the night, the bear had lost interest and wandered off. The wolf pack had similarly disappeared, though their haunting howls occasionally echoed in the distance. Mika Ven and Jerry Lon had managed to find their way back to Dorn Zak and the injured Zeph Tor, guided by the distinctive glow of Zeph Tor's bioluminescent crests. His condition had worsened. The blue fluid leaking from his leg now contained disturbing dark particles. A bacterial infection, diagnosed Mika Ven, examining him with her partially functioning scanner. Earth microbes are already attacking his system. Superior immune response, Zeph Tor mumbled deliriously. Just need rest. We need to find the shuttle, Jerry Lon insisted, her silicon skin showing alarming stress fractures from exposure to Earth's elements. The navigation system might still work even if communications are down. A sudden cracking of branches froze them mid-discussion. Something large was moving through the underbrush toward them, multiple somethings. "Hide," hissed Dorn Zak, dragging Zeph Tor behind a fallen tree. The students scrambled for cover, pressing themselves against the forest floor. Through gaps in the foliage, they watched in terror as a group of humans emerged into the small clearing. 5 of them, wearing brightly colored outer garments, carrying large packs on their backs. They moved with surprising grace through the difficult terrain, chatting and occasionally laughing as if strolling through a perfectly safe environment. "How are they so casual?" whispered Jerry Lon. "This planet tried to kill us 6 different ways last night." "Shh, they'll hear you," Mika Ven warned. But it was too late. One of the humans stopped suddenly, head tilted. The human pointed directly at their hiding spot and said something to the others. "We're dead," moaned Dorn Zak, his fur rippling with fear. "They'll dissect us for sure." The humans approached cautiously. The students huddled together, Zeph Tor now unconscious between them. "Hello?" called a female human, her voice surprisingly gentle. "We know you're there. Are you hurt? We want to help." The students exchanged bewildered glances. "Help?" repeated Jerry Lon. "They want to help?" Dorn Zak fumbled with his damaged translator unit, coaxing it to life with a few desperate taps. Static filled the air, then the device began converting their language. "We mean no harm," Dorn Zak called out, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into rough human speech. "Our friend is injured. We are lost." After a moment of stunned silence, the humans began talking excitedly among themselves. Then, to the students' astonishment, they put down their packs and slowly approached, hands raised in what seemed to be a universal gesture of peace. "I'm Maya," said the female human who had spoken first. "These are my friends. We're on a weekend hiking trip. Your friend looks like he needs medical attention." The students watched in amazement as the humans efficiently set up what appeared to be a medical treatment station. One human gently examined Zeph Tor's injured leg, seemingly unfazed by his alien anatomy. "You're not afraid of us?" Mika Ven asked through the sputtering translator. Maya laughed, a sound like musical notes. "Oh, we're freaking out inside, believe me, but you need help, and we have supplies. Questions about interstellar relations can wait until nobody's bleeding anymore." Another human approached with a container of water, offering it to Jerry Lon, who hesitated. "It's just filtered stream water," the human explained. "Though I've got some coffee if you'd prefer that. Fair warning, it's strong enough to wake the dead." "No dead waking." Dorn Zak panicked, his translator struggling with the idiom. The humans laughed again, not mockingly but with genuine warmth. As the humans worked, the students observed them with growing fascination. They handled the dangerous environment with an ease that bordered on supernatural. One casually brushed aside a venomous spider. Another identified edible plants with a glance. When it began to rain again, They simply pulled on water-resistant layers and continued working. "How do you survive here?" Jerry Lawn finally asked. "This world, it's designed to kill." Maya looked up from where she was splinting Zeph Tor's leg, her expression thoughtful. "I guess we just call it home," she replied with a shrug that contained more profound wisdom than any academic lecture the students had ever attended. Professor Nari Vex stood on the bridge of the emergency shuttle, her 4 arms simultaneously operating different control panels as she barked orders at the rescue team. Her outer membrane had turned a deep purple, a physiological sign of extreme stress among her species. Signal strength increasing. "They're within 2 kilometers of this position," reported a technician, adjusting the tracking equipment. "Life signs detected for all 4 students, though one signature is significantly weakened." "If they're still alive, I'll fix that problem myself," muttered the professor darkly. "Breaking every academy regulation, risking an interplanetary incident, stealing a research shuttle, those 4 won't see graduation until the next galactic alignment." The shuttle hovered above the forest canopy, its cloaking systems engaged to avoid detection by Earth's primitive radar. As they prepared to descend into a small clearing, the sensor operator suddenly jerked upright in alarm. "Professor, human life signs detected in immediate proximity to our students." Nari Vex's stress purple deepened to nearly black. "Initiate emergency extraction protocol. Move full defensive systems online." The shuttle dropped through the clouds with military precision, landing gear extending as it settled into the clearing with a soft hiss of hydraulics. The rescue team emerged in full biohazard gear, weapons at the ready only to freeze in confusion at the scene before them. Their missing students sat around a small fire, wrapped in brightly colored thermal blankets, sipping from steaming containers. Beside them, a group of humans chatted casually, one playing a musical instrument while another roasted something on sticks over the flames. Zeph Tor, his leg neatly splinted and bandaged, appeared to be exchanging jokes with a human female, his translator sputtering but functional. The humans and students looked up simultaneously as the armed rescue team appeared. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Professor Nari Vex stepped forward, cautiously lowering her weapon and raising her upper set of hands in what she hoped was a universal peace gesture. "We come for our students," she announced through her translator. "No intention of hostilities." A human male with facial hair stood up, smiling widely. "Hey there, you must be the teacher? We found your kids having a rough time after the storm. Zeph here got pretty banged up trying to play Tarzan across the river." The professor blinked all 4 eyes in confusion. "Tarzan?" "Human cultural reference," explained Dorn Zach quickly, "involving swinging on vines and excessive chest pounding." Professor Nari Vex approached the group, her scientific curiosity temporarily overriding her anger. "You've been caring for them? Without government authorization or containment protocols?" Maya laughed, passing a steaming cup to one of the rescue team members, who accepted it reflexively. "They needed help. Simple as that. We're wilderness first responders, it's what we do." "You voluntarily train for emergency scenarios in these conditions?" The professor gestured around at the wet, wild forest with undisguised horror. "For recreation?" "Well, yeah," shrugged another human. "Nothing beats a weekend in the great outdoors. Though usually we don't run into space tourists." Professor Nari Vex's translator struggled with her next words. "I must offer deepest apologies for this unauthorized intrusion. Our students violated strict non-interference protocols. There will be severe consequences and—" "Oh, relax," interrupted the bearded human, slapping her on what he guessed was a shoulder, causing the professor to nearly jump out of her exoskeleton. "No harm done. We were getting bored with just bears and mountain lions anyway." "You consider apex predators boring?" whispered a faculty member, the words barely audible. Maya stood up, brushing dirt from her hiking pants. "Your shuttle's pretty big. Think you might need a guide to find a better landing spot?" There's a meadow about a mile east that would work perfectly. We can show you the trail." The Academy faculty exchanged baffled looks as the humans casually packed their gear, seeming completely unfazed by the presence of aliens or their advanced technology. One human even took self-portrait selfies. They called them with Mika Ven before the professor confiscated the imaging device. "We appreciate your assistance, but further contact is not permitted," Nari Vex explained stiffly. "Our protocols are very specific regarding." Yeah, Prime Directive and all that," grinned Maya, already leading the way through the underbrush. "But your ship is facing the wrong way, and there's a cliff on your current trajectory. Unless you want to join Zeph in the Broken Bones Club, you might want to follow us." The professor opened her mouth to object, then closed it again, silently signaling the rescue team to follow the human's lead. 3 standard cycles of ship maintenance duty, revocation of all recreational privileges, complete documentation of your experiences in a formal report, and Wustery. Professor Nari Vex's voice rose dramatically. "You will each deliver a 1-hour lecture to first-year cadets about the consequences of violating safety protocols." The 4 students stood at attention in the ship's disciplinary chamber, their postures appropriately contrite, except for Zeph Tor, who remained seated due to his injuries. His normally brilliant bioluminescent crests were dim with exhaustion and, remarkably, humility. "Do you have anything to say for yourselves?" the professor demanded. Zeph Tor looked up, his expression uncharacteristically serious. "I was wrong," he stated simply. "About everything. The humans, Earth, our supposed superiority, all of it." A shocked silence fell over the room. Even the professor seemed taken aback by this admission. "The medical team tells me I would have died from infection within hours if those humans hadn't treated me," he continued. "Their knowledge of their own deadly ecosystem saved my life. And they did it without hesitation, without advanced technology, without superiority complexes." This last part he added with a self-deprecating flicker of his crests. Professor Nari Vex studied him for a long moment before turning to address the assembled xenobiology class. "Well, it seems our troublemakers have learned something valuable after all. Perhaps we all can." She activated the lecture hall display, showing footage captured by the rescue team. Images of the humans confidently navigating treacherous terrain, treating alien injuries with improvised materials, laughing in the face of dangers that would send most advanced species into panic. "Class, this is why Earth is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. Not merely because of its environmental hazards, which are substantial, but because of them." She pointed to an image of Maya and her friends. "Humans don't just survive there, they thrive. They recreate in conditions that would kill most of us within hours." Mika Ven raised her hand. "Professor, I've been analyzing our data. The humans have surprisingly fragile bodies compared to many species. They lack redundant organs, have no natural armor, possess relatively weak senses, and are susceptible to countless pathogens and toxins. By all physiological metrics, they should be extinct." "Exactly." The professor's 4 eyes gleamed with academic excitement. "This is the paradox that makes humans so fascinating. They don't conquer their environment through superior biology or even primarily through technology. Their true advantage is adaptability," Dornzak finished quietly, "and resilience. They don't try to control their world, they adapt to its rules while bending just enough to carve out a place within it. They belong there, in a way we never could." Jerry Lawn nodded. "They carried emergency medical supplies for fun. Their recreational activities involved deliberately exposing themselves to danger, hiking, climbing, diving. Their entertainment includes simulations of apocalyptic scenarios." "Indeed," agreed the professor. "And this is why the Galactic Council maintains the non-interference policy. Not to protect humans from us, but perhaps to protect us from them." The class murmured thoughtfully, viewing the humans on screen with new eyes, not as primitive mammals fumbling with basic technology. but as impossibly tough creatures perfectly at home in a deadly universe. Zeptor, his arrogance thoroughly deflated, offered one final observation. They called their weekend trip getting away from it all and relaxing. If that's their idea of relaxation, imagine what they're capable of when they're really trying. The professor nodded sagely. That, students, is precisely why we watch, we learn, but we do not interfere. For now, we observe, and perhaps we prepare.